Welcome to the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. There has never been a better time for writers. More information, options, and opportunities are available to you, but navigating these requires insight. Join Mark Leslie Lefebvre as he draws upon more than a quarter century of experience as a writer, a bookseller, and a trusted book industry consultant to explore and reflect on the writing and publishing landscape to help you make informed choices on your writer journey.
Hello, Reflectives, and welcome to episode 199 of the Stark Reflections on Writing and Publishing podcast. This is your host, Mark Leslie Lefebvre. In today's episode, I have a wonderful conversation with Chelle, Honiker and Chrishaun, Keller, Hanna, two of the more than dozen incredible power women behind Indie Author Magazine. Let me tell you what Indie Author Magazine is. The mission of Indie Author Magazine is to inform, educate, and inspire authors at every stage of their careers. They say our vision is to be the trusted industry leader for reliable resources of information for indie authors by providing unbiased, well-researched, and articulate content in a timely manner in the most engaging format possible. Core values: we will value individual definitions of success in the spirit of entrepreneurship. We value diversity in people in every way. We value openness, honesty, integrity, and transparency. We value stewardship of money and fair pay for our team. We value passionate debate and diversity of thought. We strive to minimize our negative impact on the environment. We value accountability in ourselves, to one another, to our readership, and our stakeholders. We value service and support by giving generously and for the right reasons. Now, these are some phenomenal people behind this magazine, and it is a great magazine, a professional magazine, and something that I'm really excited to see launch. Now, Chelle and Chrishan and I have a wonderful conversation, and I'm so excited to share with you, and that's coming up later in this episode as the main segment of this episode. But before we get into that, let's hear a word from this episode's sponsor. This episode is sponsored by Findaway Voices. Findaway Voices offers solutions for authors to get their books out into the audiobook market. Now, using Findaway Voices, you can get into 43 plus retail and library markets. You can pick and choose which ones you want to go to through Findaway, or you can use Findaway Voices for them all. They have a special program called Voices Plus where you get access to additional tools and access to additional marketing opportunities if you're using them for everything. Now, one of the benefits is I believe you get 30 download codes for any book you publish that you can give away that people can get for free. When you are using Voices Plus, you get 100 codes. So that's kind of cool. And I've been definitely leveraging those codes. Set myself up on TikTok, for example, and I've tested out creating links where people can go and download through a BookFunnel link, a book that they can download for free, but also for the audiobook. If they message me, there's ways that they can get that audiobook. And again, I've got a plethora of codes, so I've got, I think, 50 of those codes going away to people who end up following that over on my not-so-hoppin' TikTok account, but I am playing with it and seeing what I can do with the fun social medias. But this is not about TikTok. This is about Findaway Voices. If you're looking for a professional narrator, that's a place to go as well. They will help you find from among thousands of narrators the best narrator possible, giving you all kinds of great options. And you do not have to go through a gigantic, idiotic slush pile of hundreds and hundreds of inappropriate submissions. No, not at all. They have a project manager who will go through and help select the top 5, to 10 narrators in a variety of price ranges, just give you an idea of what's probably going to be best for your project. If you want to see how you can leverage Findaway voices as an author, you can check them out over at starkreflections.ca/Findaway. Going to be a very brief personal update. Yeah, right, Mark. You don't know how to be brief. What? Who was that? Who said that? Okay, never mind. Just talking to myself here. I'm not going to do comments right now. I'm just trying to record this really quickly. It is early in the week of the last week of June, first week of July. And on June 30th, my son and I are going on our annual boys road trip. Now, because he's turning 17 in early July, and this has been a tradition, the two of us going on a boys road trip since I think he was about 7 years old. We just started to do that where we would take off and we would just go on a road trip somewhere, have some fun, explore. We've gone fishing, we've gone hiking, we've gone zip lining, camping. We're going to be doing a little bit of camping, a little bit of visiting with my mom. But of course, because he has a part-time job and is getting more hours over the summer, now that school is wrapping up, he only had a few days off. He actually, he was supposed to be here at the house with Liz and I so we could get up early in the morning and go. But he's working tonight in Hamilton, which is about an hour away from where Liz and I are. And so I'm picking him up from his mom's in the morning. But yeah, we get going on the 30th. We're doing a little bit of camping, which will be great. It'll be fantastic. It is gorgeously hot and humid and wonderful, perfect for being out in the fun and sun and in the woods. And yeah, I've rented. Last year I rented an RV. We had a bit of a misadventure with tenement on wheels that broke down. Although it was an extra day, an extra night on the highway, trapped, on the side of the highway when we were waiting to be rescued. But yeah, we're hoping to have more adventures, less misadventures this year. But yeah, so I'm heading off. I'm going to be in low Wi-Fi territory for several days. So I am pre-scheduling this to go out. So by the time you hear this, we shall have, commenced our most of our camping, and be up north where I will have little access to Wi-Fi. So I'm just trying to get this out the door before we get everything packed up and ready to go. And then I'll see, that wasn't so bad. That wasn't so long. So now, with all the introductory matter over and my abbreviated personal update, where I wasn't rambling on quite so much as normal, why don't we get right into this wonderful conversation with Chelle and Chrishaun. Chelle, Chrishaun, welcome to the Stark Reflections podcast.
Thanks for having us.
It's so good to talk to you again.
We're not in person yet. We're getting close, but this is exciting. We have some exciting news of a really awesome project that I want to talk about. But before we get there, I want my listeners to become familiar with you amazing creative types and where you got your background. Love to hear just a little bit about your background before we lead into the project.
Sure. Chrishan, you want to go?
Sure. My name is Chrishaun Keller Hanna. I am a 25-year digital literacy scholar. I write under the Shaman States of America universe, which is pretty much all monsters all the time, high-paying cars and guns.
Sounds peaceful.
No. It came from my brain. So it's just like organized chaos with style, but I love it. And when I'm not doing that, I'm also an illustrator and an artist. And I'm trying to expand Shaman States of America to a full multimedia experience. And that has been taking up a lot of my time and I absolutely love it.
So I have to ask with the practice that you have, because when you were describing what you write, that was perfect elevator pitch material. So it's obvious that it's not your first rodeo, right?
No, I've honed that over many, many tables at cons, trying to explain it while you're walking by. I've got less time than TikTok to tell you about my universe.
Can you talk a little bit about the blending of the different media that you had mentioned?
That comes from the fact that I am first and foremost an artist.
Right.
And in past lives, many, many eons ago, I've been a filmmaker. I've done podcasts. I've done podcast books. I've made music. I had a record company for a short while, and I have all these varied interests, right?
Wow, I didn't know you had a music background too. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, mostly if I'm with other people, I'm a very good solid tenor, and so I do a lot of choral work. I still sing choir, and playing with the band, it was mostly jazz and standards because I absolutely love them. And with my label, it was more like nerdcore, nerd rock, geek punk, stuff like that.
Wow. Wow. That's so cool.
You've heard of a triple threat. She's like an octuple threat. She's everything.
I'm ADHD and bored. That's what that is.
I should have asked, what creative thing don't you do?
Speak French.
Ah.
Still can't do it. I still can't do it.
Ne parlez-vous français?
Not at all, sweetheart.
Okay.
But I want, in writing for me, is it feels like one dimension of every way I can tell the story and every way you can experience it, right? Because reading a book is very different than reading the end credits at the end of Endgame. You know, the part when everybody was signing their names, or if you're my age, when they originally did it in Star Trek: The Undiscovered Country, and those feelings. You could think. You're thinking about it now. I can tell.
Now I am. Yeah.
Right. And that's a totally different feeling than the feeling you get from reading a good book. Right.
Okay.
And that's what stories do for us. And thanks to my ADHD, I am capable of telling a story more than one way. And I'm trying to explore all the ways I can tell these stories of inclusion and hard work and building your own system when the system that you're under isn't working for you. All these very relatable and frankly dark topics, with optimism being what carries you through and not being the reward, which is the theme of the Shaman States of America. I want to be able to communicate that in every way that you are able to take in input and bring joy. So we're working on it.
Wow. Cool. Thank you. That's awesome.
I'm exhausted now.
Yeah, I know. I was like, you gotta take a breather now. Okay.
Coffee.
Chelle, how about your creative background?
Well, so my background is I'm a technology and training consultant from way back. My background was I started in the travel industry back when you hand wrote tickets and the airlines were all regulated. And so I was the only one in the office that could fix the printer. And so they sent me to a lot of training schools. And I happened to be in Dallas, which was the hub of American Airlines. So I got to work with American Airlines on new technology. And I had, a playground at the travel agency that I worked at. And then I just sort of kept progressing through there. And then I launched my own company in my late 20s and have kept it going ever since. I quickly realized that I was not cut out to work for other people, but with other people. So I've done a lot of geeky, nerdy stuff, built websites, and I've been fortunate enough to raise two daughters that are now geeks alongside me. And so, and then they met boys, which is very frustrating. And they're both very happily ensconced. One's married, one's, soon to be. And so last year I decided to become a digital nomad. I decided to take my empty nest on the road. First stop was London at the self-publishing Mark Dawson's SPF Live. And then we all went into lockdown and I ended up in Ireland for 4 months, which was a weird way to do a proof of concept, right? But it was awesome. And so now I'm back in Texas. I split my time between California and Texas. I'm waiting for the world to open back up so I can start traveling again. So
this company that you started, was there a specific tech focus or was it tech general? You mentioned websites, but were you still fixing printers?
I was. So so I would cable Cat5. I would be up in the roof cabling stuff and itchy from, asbestos insulation and things. I would build websites. I would help them develop their technology plans and their training plans. travel agencies at the time were sort of beholden to the airlines because the airline systems controlled their technology. They gave them computers. And they would scare them by saying, if you load email on there, you're going to blow up everything and void your warranty. So I was the rule breaker that came in and said, no, you're going to be fine. I'll help you with this. And so I was put on the speaking circuit, and I went around to all the major travel conventions all over the world and taught people how to do email, and taught people how to build websites, and taught people how to not be afraid of the technology. And so that was my first foray into it. And so I was kind of a jack of all trades. Now we call it a T-shaped skill set, right? So you've got a lot of surface skills, and then you go deep into certain ones. Okay. But I built close to 4,000 websites in my career. Wow. Before I said I never want to build another website ever again. But I converted all of them to WordPress very early on and became a WordPress early adopter when it was a fork off of K2 20 plus years ago. So now I'm still kind of an outsourced chief technology officer for some companies. I'm a hired gun chief marketing officer for some companies, and I sort of work with small groups of companies. But then about 6 months ago, I said, I'm going to kind of end all of my client work, and I'm going to focus on one specific client. And that's kind of become what we're doing now. So, wow. Terrifying. It's kind of a leap of faith, but it's also really exciting. And I feel like it's kind of the best possible position that we could be in, to start this new.
So the last thing you were at was one of the very last in-person events that I'm, at least from the circles we run in.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Which I actually canceled my trip because I was worried about getting stuck for 14 days in quarantine because I was supposed to be going on a tropical vacation, which we ended up canceling because it just was progressively getting worse, and we were worried about not being able to get back home.
Right. Which became a very founded fear.
Yeah.
My thing was I was in London. I was going to go over to Larne, Northern Ireland, and spend some time with a writer friend there, Lacerina McMaster. And then I was going to come back to Scotland, and I was going to spend 3 months in Scotland. And then I was going to come back to the States. So because my plane ticket was booked so far out, when I called to come back from London, they said, oh, it'll be fine. Just wait. You can use your ticket. Don't change your ticket. It's fine. It's fine. And so, that didn't work out. And then the airline went under. And so I was stranded in Ireland. I say that in air quotes because really, for the love, where's the better place to be stranded? Honestly,
I can't think of a better place. Knowing you.
Yeah, it was fine.
And so if y'all know her like I know her, if she didn't want to be there, she would have been home.
Exactly. Well, stranded in Ireland at regular times would be fine because pubs, right?
Yeah.
But not during a lockdown, because they did do a lockdown there too, didn't they?
They did. We went into lockdown pretty early, but it really wasn't terrible. So I was at the time, I had a townhouse in Austin, right near Chrishan.
Yeah.
And I would Airbnb my place because in Austin we have several large festivals, and so I had like a space, and I had people coming and going Airbnb all the time. So I was in a chat room, Facebook chat room of Airbnb owners and managers, and when I was in a B&B in Larne, and they were having to shut down. They said, we have to shut down. There's no way we can do business. We're all going into shutdown. So I posted in the Airbnb, hey, who wants to help a stranded American? And the most amazing Airbnb owner down the coast, a little bit down the coast in Carnlough, had a cottage, a seaside cottage, literally sea view cottage, and said, hey, come stay here and let me rent it for pennies. Literally pennies. So I was there for 4 months. So when I say I was stranded in Ireland, it was just, I was in the best possible place I could possibly be. And I would walk along the coast every morning, and Lass and her husband would bring me, food and gin and cheesecake. I know.
Horrible. Yeah.
I know. Wow. It was the worst. I couldn't post on Facebook because it really was a dire situation all around the world, and it was very, very scary, but I felt very safe and very sheltered. And I was, I was writing. I had put out the bat signal to our group that had gathered in Edinburgh the year before and said, hey, I'm bored, does anybody want to write? And that's how the core group of us that started the magazine all came together, because we started writing 6 days a week, 3 times a day. And just, yeah.
Like doing what, Zoom sessions where you were
We would
writing
do,
in
we would do Zoom
sprints
sessions.
okay.
We started out doing sprints. We still do like Pomodoro timers of 25 minutes at a time, but now we've sort of branched off, and some of us edit, some of us write. We start the clock and then we kind of do things, right? And so some of us do marketing plans, some of us do social media posts, some of us, build websites. We've come together. We're like a cohort, I guess. So we give each other advice. We read each other's stuff. We've become kind of this little mini force of nature, this group of us. And we, from that, we started to try and keep track of all the tools we were sharing. And there were just too many for a spreadsheet. So we built a website called indieauthortools.com, which just was, like a relational database for all of us to kind of keep track of stuff, because we couldn't remember. And then we made that free, and then that spawned a newsletter of the top 5 tools. And then we were talking craft, and we said, did we just start a book club? And we did. So every Saturday morning we meet and we chat about a different book. So it, out of the pressure and the loneliness that we were all individually experiencing, we all just sort of came together and found each other. So it was,
Wow.
We call it magic. The magic brought us all together, but the alchemy, the ingredients of all of us have just spawned careers changing things and life changing things, because we do life and talk about stuff.
Who's in this cohort, and how is that related to the magazine? Was everyone from the cohort a part of this, creating this?
Most of us, right? Because we're all still working writers. All of us are still authors. And so we, everything is optional, right? So we said, who has time to do this? And there are 14 that kind of raised their hands out of 25 that kind of said, yeah, I have time to do this. Let's do this. And so, and some people feel more comfortable, like Chrishaun is comfortable interviewing and talking to people. And so, so that's how it happened. We adopted the name, the Coronitas, which just somebody slapped that on our chest.
When you think about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Now we have swag.
Oh, that's awesome.
Sticker. So you hear that term sort of bandied about, the Coronitas, but it's we kind of joke and say it's a girl gang for good, because it's all girls, and we come together and critique and do stuff. So there's 25 of us roughly, right? And of that 14, and then so when we launched the magazine, it was myself and Alice Briggs who had become accountability partners after we had met in Edinburgh. We both live in Texas, but had to go to Edinburgh to, meet and become friends.
Well, Texas is such a big state. It was probably quicker to go to Edinburgh.
Right? The flight was certainly cheaper.
Yeah, no joke. Yeah. So Alice and I, when we came back from the 20 Books conference in Edinburgh, started meeting every Saturday morning as accountability partners and kind of a mastermind group. And about October, we had done so many things as the Coronitas, right? We had written, 4 anthologies together. All of us had sort of gotten together and done anthologies together. And we had, we'd done a cover sale and donated some money to the different charities. We just kind of banded together and started doing stuff. And it was all organic. And then Alice and I kind of, and then we'd gotten together and done a whole website cohort where 12 of us built new websites together each week. We just got together for 2 hours every week and did that. And then some of us built merch sites and started, building and selling merch on our website. So we were all we were doing all of these things. And then Alice and I said, I've run a magazine before as an editor-in-chief of a travel magazine. And Alice is a designer. She's a genius designer and cover artist. And so she'd done layouts for magazines. And we started thinking about how could we go deeper and sort of explore some of these concepts, right? Because there's books on specific single topics, and we use those as resources. And there's conversations that are happening on Facebook that are kind of hard to index and sometimes hard to remember where you found them. And then there's, to be honest, there's predatory people in our industry, our little industry, that give out bad information to sell their product. And we wanted to become an unbiased source of information. So Alice and I got together started thinking about it, came together and said, who wants to do it? 14 people threw up their hands and said, we do. And that's how Indie Author Magazine was born. And so it's all working writers. We do have a couple of people that are now contributing writers that are journalists or have journalism backgrounds, but are interested about how to be an indie author and are interested to kind of understand the difference between vanity press and self-published now. And there's just a fascination with this industry because it's so young. To be honest, we're young and we're still finding our legs, and things change and we all pivot and we figure stuff out, and and it's a small industry, right? Most of us know one another, the thought leaders and people that are doing stuff. So that's how the magazine got started, and that's the genesis of it all.
And for me, I absolutely love the idea of somebody who has this dream that they want to write a book, or they've already written a book and they don't know what to do. And they hear about self-publishing and they go to the sites and the groups and it's all too much. And having this one place so they can go where small bite-sized chunks of education, actionable processes that they can follow, and it represents self-publishing in all its various ways, right? Wouldn't you have killed for something like that in 2016, Mark?
Oh yeah, I mean, or actually in 2004, I would have really wanted something like this. But, so,
and not only that, but it is, well, a lot of the journals that you see now and the bigger sites are still traditional publishing oriented. And while the traditional industry is a juggernaut and a blockbuster because it is, what works for us doesn't work for them.
Right.
And having a journal that intrinsically knows that, and they're not trying to convert one system to another, but this is sprung new based on the experiences that 14 people have had in this industry, just carries more weight.
Okay. So let's describe for people who haven't seen the magazine. So the magazine just launched in May of 2021, correct?
Yeah.
First issue.
Yep.
For anyone who hasn't seen the like, this is a this is a really great looking, great content magazine that would stand up beside any magazine from a major publisher sitting on a newsstand.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
is it physical as well? I've only ever seen a digital.
Yeah.
Is it physical as well?
It will be. So when we launched, we wanted to have a digital presence first, and we wanted it to be more than, say, a blog. Right? It would have been easy just to launch with a website, but we launched with a website and we launched with an Android and a Apple iOS app. So we have apps, and then we have the digital. We also have bonus content that are videos of the authors that we interview and extra special features that you can find.
Oh, wow. I haven't even seen that yet.
No,
that is so
there's
cool.
so much. There's
so
much. But ideally, yes, we do want it in print. We've got a short run print planned. We're going to do the first 3 issues and combine them together. This is the plan today. The first 3 issues will be a quarterly issue that will come out, and it will be in print.
Oh wait! So it's like it's a monthly magazine.
Yeah.
But you're going to do the quarterly in print. That actually is very economical. Very bright.
Thank you.
It's like you guys are really smart, and I
We're
love you.
yeah we like to say bootstrap a lot around here. We bootstrap a lot of ideas. And the great thing is that we're all playing to our strengths, right? So I have produced a magazine before in my former life. Alice has laid out magazines in her former life. So we didn't have to hire out these skills. These are skill sets that we had internally. We didn't have to find managing editors. We had 2 managing editors. We had Robin Sardi and we had Eric Everest to run a tight ship. I mean, these are like
yes, they are.
They laugh at time zones and they get more stuff done before 8 a.m. than I get done all month. It's
in any time zone, just so you know.
Beyond, yeah, they're just beyond. And then, we've got people that proofread and find their things. It's all hands on deck, right? So that's been the beauty of it all, is that it's not trying to it's not trying to penetrate from outside the industry and conquer a new industry. We're all from the industry. And so it was like, hey, let's put on a show on Old Man Miller's barn or something. We all just came together, but we're all Elon Musk's doing that. So it worked out more brilliantly than we could have ever imagined. So we've got it in different places. We're also right now trying to work on getting it in KU as one of the magazines in Kindle Unlimited. And we are talking to a couple of distribution channels to get into Barnes & Noble. So yeah, It'll stand up. Absolutely. It's beautiful. It's 90.
So you're talking Barnes & Noble print?
Yes.
Oh,
on
wow.
their newsstands. Yeah.
Wow.
On the newsstands.
And you could actually see this magazine next to Publisher Weekly magazine or Poetry and Writers or How to Write Your Book or.
That's what I mean. Like you walk into a magazine store and all of the magazine, like there are like some of the magazines, like even like Independent Book Publishers Association, the member magazine, is still very they're open-minded to indie publishing, and they have a lot of indie authors who are members, but they're still very much from the New York publishing side of things. Whereas this is, I love the fact that and so it's coming from how do you decide the content of the various magazines? Is it like a board, a committee? How do you guys figure those things out?
So what we did was we looked at it from the perspective of, if I were a new author, what iterative process would I loosely follow? Knowing that there's rebels, right? We're all rebels and we don't always follow this process. But we started in May with outlining. And then June is all about first drafts, and July is all about cover design, and August is editing, and September's distribution, and so on and so on. So we planned out a full year sort of loosely following that process.
Okay.
And so we have one featured author that we select. It's a committee selection, and it aligns with whatever the topic is. So last month was Gail Carriger, and she talked a lot about the heroine's journey and that outlining process. And in June, it is Jamie Albright, who talks about her first draft process. And so,
cool.
Again, these kinds of things just are there. We know them. It fits. It's just a beautiful alchemy right there. Inside the magazine, we decided on topics that we wanted. So we've got 3 articles that align with whatever the issue theme is.
Right.
And we usually, we always have a beginning, just starting out. We have a more intermediate article that kind of delves a little bit deeper, and then we've got a more advanced. So we have 3 that go with that. Then we always have a technology section, because there's always technology around that. We've got a 10 tips, and we're kind of loosely following the tips for some kind of technology or social media platform. So the first one we did Instagram. This next one we're going to do TikTok. And we talk a lot about the different platforms and the best ways to get some actionable bite-sized tips. So the goal is not to be prescriptive or to tell people what to do. It's to present options and perspectives. And sometimes we have competing perspectives, but we always want to leave with resources for people to follow up on. So they'll read, whatever the best practice is for going wide, and then we'll leave them with the different options for going wide and different resources where they can go and find out that information themselves, and ways for people to connect with other people and ask more questions and get a little deeper. So we like to say we're sort of agnostic, platform agnostic and resource agnostic. We like to find the best resources. But the great thing is that because we're all working writers, we can say, oh yeah, we tried that. That might not work just yet, or it might be better for this genre, or it might be working for this group of writers over here. And so we try and call that kind of stuff out. And then we've got features where we talk about things that are just topical in the industry. So like this month, we're talking about Vela pretty deeply. We asked Kevin McLaughlin to give us his op-ed, his opinion about what he thinks is going to happen. We asked different industry thought leaders to give their thoughts on different subjects. And we've got the whole year planned out. And actually this week, we're going to plan out year 2, because about 75% of people that have signed up for the full year, not month to month, which we thought it was going to be month to month, but everybody's like, yeah, here, shut up and take our money. So
I know. I just jumped in and went, yeah. I know I'm going to want it for a year at least. Let's go. Can I buy a lifetime subscription?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, what's great, what we did was you get the website. If you sign up on the website for the full year, you actually get the app included because we wanted it to be on the go. So if you're sitting somewhere, you can just, pull up the app and read an article. And they're beautiful. They're
Yeah, I just installed the app yesterday. I think time is a blur, but I haven't had a chance to play with it. And I'm really looking, because I got a bigger phone now, so my old eyes can see better. But I'm looking forward to checking out the extra content that's there, because I think it'll be a lot easier on the app than
Yeah.
online, because I'm free. I can move around.
Yeah.
Be outside.
It's free. And then we also push things occasionally. So one of the things that we wanted to focus on in equal measure with craft and all the other things was health and wellness. And so we have health, which we kind of look at as the body and moving the body, and apps related to getting more active and keeping healthy and keeping fit, or ways that you can overcome accessibility issues. We're really focused on that as well. And then we also cover mindset. And so we can push things to the app and say, hey, today might be a rough day because of something, or, we can just sort of take the temperature and just push things out on the app. So it's more topical and timely. And again, we really want to focus on the fact that we're a community, and the magazine is an extension of our small community. And so this is just like opening it up to everybody can sit with us now.
And that's what I think Chrishaun said. She imagines that a beginning author wanting to just gather information and resources in a very level-headed, unbiased way, where, you said you're presenting the information so people can make good decisions. I guess I'm curious about, you talked about the scammers and the ne'er-do-wells, the ones who are in it just to make a quick buck, or to try and trick authors into, hey, I'm a real publisher, give me thousands of dollars. How are you helping beginning writers? Because those are the people with a lot of money who can really get in front of people way better than people with a conscience and and people who are with integrity, more integrity than money oftentimes. How is the magazine going to be useful to keep people from falling into those traps?
So I think our philosophy is to point people in the right direction, right? So we're not really going to take on any kind of investigative journalism.
So it's not going to be a David Gaughran column?
It's not.
No.
Okay. Right.
He's doing fine.
He's doing fine. We'll point people to David, so he can, there. And that's our philosophy too with groups, right? Somebody said, "Are you gonna create your own group?" I'm like, there's groups that are doing good work. Yeah. I think it's much better and it's much more effective for us to highlight the people that are already having those conversations in a positive construction way. It's better to highlight the great work that's already being done than for us to try and replicate it and split our focus for any kind of, measure or beat. It's much better to just say, hey, look at over here. This is really great. We really like this.
And the thing is too, the quickest way to not to fall into a trap is to be educated.
Yeah.
Right. Is absolutely to be educated. And even if you don't have immediate level, if you get educated well enough in the beginning, you can sniff out when people are trying to give you a raw deal. You can, like, one of the first things, you don't pay to someone to publish you, right? You pay for someone to print you. That is to say, your books, your magazines, things like that, right? Your paperbacks. That's one of the first things that you learn when you're around people who do it for a living, right?
Okay. We created this great little avatar called Indie Annie. So people could ask the questions that they think are dumb questions anonymously. And she, with a tipple in her teacup and a, bright little teal scarf, will answer those dumb questions. What you think are dumb. We don't, they're not dumb, but we created a space where people could ask questions in safety and get a cute answer so that everybody benefits from it. Right. I remember when I first started and I didn't know what KU was. And I was so embarrassed that I should have known what KU was. And, you Google it and it's not in Urban Dictionary. it's just
well, no,
something
because it's a made up term from the indie author
is.
community, right?
Yeah.
Kind of, it means something beyond just
Yeah.
the initials.
And if you try to Google it, you'll get a bunch of things that are not pertinent to what you're trying to find out. So just being able to have a resource, you can ask what you think is stupid, or you can just go and look it up. And you'll be able to find the answers that you need succinctly and without agnostically. I'm going to start using that word.
I use that a lot.
Okay. I like the idea because I encounter new writers all the time and there's no dumb questions. It's just, hey, I don't know this.
Right.
And I love the fact that you have a means for those questions, because usually if you have a question, thousands of others also have the question and maybe you're too afraid to ask. So you're probably helping just by asking.
Well, I think, again, one of our core values is accessibility, right? And it translates in different ways. But one of the main ways that it translates is in not assuming the level of reader that we have. Right. So if we say the word KU on that page somewhere, there's going to be we're going to have a glossary of some sort that describes what it is. If we say, wide, within the body of the article, we'll explain what wide means. We try not to pander to any level, and then we also have advanced topics where those things are assumed that so you can kind of self-identify and figure out where you're at and read whatever you're going to read and not feel stupid. Right. There's some articles that have come to my desk as the publisher and I go, I don't know what does that word mean? And then they'll go, well, it's blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, we're not. If I don't know what the word is, there's a lot of people that aren't going to know what the word is. Right. So let's bring it back. Let's not use the French word. Let's use some other word that means the same thing, or just, or explain what that word is. Right. And not be elitist and not be snobbish. And I think that's another point of differentiation with our magazine, is because we're not associated with a group, like an affiliate group or a professional group. We want to be accessible to everybody. And that gives us some freedom, some latitude to be able to speak to different groups of people and not just, members of XYZ or members of, this particular group.
Right.
We talk about genres, we talk about tropes, we talk about all kinds of things. There's literally something for everybody. We've gotten feedback that has just been really heartening for me. We got somebody that said, I read the first 3 articles and then I went and did things based on those. And then I read the next 3 articles and my mind was blown and there was more stuff to think about and do. I was like, yes, that's what we want.
I love that.
Nailed it.
I have to ask, since most magazines, newspapers, right, I'm thinking of the print world and sitting on the shelves in Barnes and Noble, etc., usually have sponsors. Have you reached out to, or have you been approached by sponsors? Because I'm sure there are folks that would be interested in getting their wares in front of authors. Like, hey, I have a pencil to sell you. No, I mean, but but is that a thing it must have come up?
It is.
How are you approaching that?
Yeah, so we do have advertising and we do have rate cards that offset, and we wanted to keep it nominal so that it was, again, accessible for advertisers, because we have some folks that are doing great work that are, small apps or small services. So we've got a rate card and we've got our advertisers on there. We have a group of us that kind of make sure that it aligns, because we feel like if we're endorsing somebody, we want to be sure that it's a company that we're comfortable doing business with, and so it aligns with our values. And so we do have advertising, and it is, if you see it in the magazine, we're proud that they're there.
That's good to know that it's been vetted and you're not just going to take money because some of these entities like how can writers get a hold of this? What's the cost? What's the cost for subscription? Can they just buy one issue? How does this work?
They can. So the easiest way to do it is at indieauthormagazine.com. There's a subscribe link in the upper right-hand corner there, and pretty much anywhere I could put it on the site.
Okay.
It's US $59.90 per year. You can buy a single issue on the app. You can actually purchase it. You can download it on the app and just buy one single issue. It's $6.99 US for a single issue, or $5.99 if you subscribe monthly. But if you buy the annual subscription on the website, then you get the app for free. You get a code that unlocks it so that you can follow along. You get all the bonus content, everything else that we're going to be doing throughout the year. We're going to have some AMAs with some of our industry thought leaders so that they can answer questions. And we're continually thinking up weird things that we can do to make it more valuable. Although I think the content is just genius and
Awesome.
would be enough. But yeah, that's how you can get a hold.
You mentioned, I think, that most of the response from the community has been, yeah, I'm in for a year.
It is.
Lock and load. Let's go.
It is. Yeah. We, of course, we launched with a business plan. We launched as a proper business, and we did the projections, and we did everything. And we said, well, we're going to have some churn, maybe month 2 or 3. And then we went, yeah, we don't need to put that in there anymore because everybody's signing up for a year. And we're incredibly grateful. We'll still keep those pricing points there, but yeah, we're incredibly grateful for everybody that signed up for a year. We also created, sort of as a secondary profit stream, we created merch. We've got t-shirts and water bottles and coffee mugs, and with cute little author sayings and things of Indiana. And Alice is creating more and more products every day. I'm like, yeah, we need more products. We're selling out. We need to get more stuff in there. So
wow.
Yeah, we're very, very excited. And, we just think it's a kind of fun way to keep the community spirit going with all the authors too. It's nowhere near the merch that Chrishan does. And Chrishan, yeah, I got a box from Chrishan's World last week, and I did an unboxing. I'm like, oh man, I want this. I want this stuff. I want this stuff in our store all the time. Pins and postcards, all kinds. Yeah, there it is.
So.
And again, that's the genius. It's the wisdom in the room just manifested in a magazine and everything else we do. I get to play with my friends all day. It's the greatest job ever. This job does not suck, let me tell you.
No, it absolutely doesn't.
So I have to ask you guys sort of a final question. Well, thank you for this magazine, for doing this on behalf of authors. And my main worry is, are you guys still able to write? Are you still able to do the things, or is this taking away too much of your time? How are you balancing that?
Absolutely, it is not. And what I'm doing to balance it, well, first of all, we put it in perspective, right? My job on the average is to complete 40 to 50,000 word books, few of those a year, and then a slew of short stories, 69,000 words, because that's where the anthology likes them, right? I'm being asked in those months as well to finish a 1,000 word article, right? Think about that in terms of perspective. That's a writing day for me, right?
Yeah, okay.
The harder part is actually the research. When you get your memo, you're just like, oh wow, that's not something I use in my process. So let's see what it is, and then trying to communicate that in a way that someone who is like me has never heard of it be able to understand it, right? Wow. And that takes a lot, but when you think about it, it is 1,000 words. So I'm able to fit that with the with the practices that keeps me writing every day.
Okay, I like that perspective.
One thing that we did was we systematized it so that we have, the assignments. Every writer gets an assigning memo every month that lays out everything. We check with them first, because we have folks that are, we have people that are getting married and getting out there more now that things are opening up. And so we were real careful to make sure everybody knows that their writing comes first. And so Alice and I, gave that charge to the managing editors for that. So they'll check in before they assign anything. And then the other thing that we did was we opened up applications on our website. Down at the bottom, you can click on jobs and you'll see contributing writer. So now we have a deeper bench to pull from. We hired 6 people last month as contributing writers so that we can slot them in where they feel comfortable and where they can write. So we're sharing the load among a lot of different people now, as opposed to just our core group, because we wanted to be sure that everybody could continue to write. That's first.
Awesome.
That's first.
Awesome. And I suppose you two drew the short straw that you had to talk to me, right?
No, I wanted to talk to you because I miss your face.
It's been so long, hasn't it?
I know. And there's nothing that can be done about it. I was like, I just want to talk to people.
Yeah, I know. Oh, ladies, thank you so much. It's so great to chat with you about that. And thank you for what you're doing to help other authors. This is phenomenal.
Thank you. Thanks for helping us spread the word. We appreciate it.
It's an absolute bless. And we're
Yeah.
glad to help.
So there's a few fundamental things that I want to reflect on here. The overarching theme here with Indie Author Magazine and the way that these amazing women are working together is together we're stronger, together we're better, together we've got this. And we've got each other's backs. One of the things I was worried about, and I asked them that question, is oftentimes when you engage in activities like this to help other authors, you end up shortchanging your own writing. I'm guilty of it. I love helping other authors, but I know that the work that I do in helping other authors actually takes away from my writing time. But I love the way that they've prioritized their writing, which is really important because that's what drew them to this whole thing in the first place. But they just want to also help other writers. So you've got, 12, 15 amazing women, all with this diverse range of skills, talents, and backgrounds. And they're all bringing something special. And I have long said, an advocate, shout from the mountaintops, that the power of the future of publishing is in collaboration. It's the way that people work together because, again, the sum of the parts add up to more than that total. It's just that's just the way that it works. At least in my mind anyway. But you've got these amazing women all contributing to this magazine. Yeah, you've got people leading the magazine, but you've got so many different people responsible for different things. And I love that Chrishaun said, so, I've got these writing projects and this is how many words I've got to do and stuff. So 1,000-word article a month that's reasonable. That's something I can easily do within the realm of my writing. So it's not negatively affecting her writing. But I just love the way that they're all working together on this to make something bigger and better, to help new authors who are coming in and are looking for a dependable resource that will be available in markets beyond the reach of the, let's be honest, the dramatically siloed indie author community. There are silos, huge silos in the indie author community alone that have no clue about what the other ones are doing. So this is a magazine that's going to take so much of the knowledge that these women have, so much of the knowledge that they're bringing in, and the feature authors that are being talked about, and the different columns that they have, and all the things that they're putting together. It's going to be available beyond the echo chambers of the silos of the indie author community. It's going to be available in a broader form. And I love that because one of the things that frustrates me the most about this industry is it's the scam artists and the thieves and the pirates and the vanity publishing operations that have billions of dollars to spend on advertising that can easily get in front of authors outside of these silos. And I just saw recently a commenter on the Wide for the Win Facebook group, for example, who, fell prey to one of these predators and, paid $5,000 or whatever or more for some ridiculous, idiotic marketing package. Now, they did not know any better. It's not their fault. It looked like, for what they understood about the industry, it looked fine. And so many authors fall prey to these things, and it's not their fault. And they're not dumb authors. They just need people like Chelle and Chrishan and the amazing team behind Indie Author Magazine to be producing more content that's high quality, that reaches further, than these small pockets or silos in the indie author community to help other authors. And then that's one of the many reasons why I'm so thrilled to see this magazine come out. The third issue, the July issue, should be out probably roughly by the time this episode is going to air. And I encourage you to check out Indie Author Magazine, the app, the website. And again, I'm looking at ways that maybe I can, purchase physical magazines to, get into libraries, just donate to libraries for local authors, because again, there's such a need for sharing that information in an easily accessible and broad term. And I applaud and adore what they're doing with the Indie Author Magazine, and I encourage you to check it out. So that's it for this episode. That's it for this reflection. Hope you enjoyed the reflection. Hope you enjoyed the interview for this episode. If you like this podcast, feel free to share it with someone that you think would find value in these stark reflections. You can leave a review over on the podcatcher of your choice, and if you so choose, you can also become a patron of the podcast over at patreon.com/starkreflections, where for as little as $1, $3, or $5 a month, you can become a patron and support this podcast and get access to additional episodes, such as this week I released an additional episode of Stark Reflections on other podcasts, where I was actually in the middle of doing the dishes, and I had to stop and run upstairs and record a quick segment from the Creative Pen, the latest episode of the Creative Pen podcast. And Joanna had one of the co-founders of The Onion on, and he was talking about something that I just had to reflect on immediately. Normally I make notes, dozens of notes on what I'm going to reflect on. I very rarely drop everything and go do that. But anyways, so any of the patrons at the $3 or $5 levels automatically get all the audio episodes and video content and stuff like that is also going out at the higher levels. So that's coming, anyway, that's out in the feed. So if you're a patron, make sure you double check. That should have come automatically in your audio feed. And I got a couple other treats coming up for patrons in hopefully next episode, episode 200. Want to celebrate the 200th episode with some exciting stuff. And so there's going to be another fun giveaway for some of my awesome patrons. So thank you guys. Thank you, patrons. You're amazing. And thank you, listeners. You are amazing as well. I appreciate you taking the time to be here with me on this podcast. I appreciate all the wonderful comments that I'm getting. And we'll get back to reading comments in future episodes. My apologies. I was just a little bit shortchanged. So again, thank you so much for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. Until next week and next episode, which will be episode number 200. This is Mark Leslie Lefebvre wishing you great writing and good Stark Reflections.
Thank you for listening to the Stark Reflections podcast. You can find show notes for each episode at starkreflections.ca.
The music for this podcast, Laser Groove, was composed and produced by Kevin MacLeod. Check out more of Kevin's great music at incomptech.com.